Chapter 37, is finding a job. Selling yourself. As the sun rose, the temperature began to rise rapidly, leaving everyone feeling hot. They had no choice but to stay inside their shanties. Jiang Ran's shanty was next to a few large trees, and their dense shade offered some relief from the scorching sun. However, it was only a slight improvement compared to the others. Some shanties were constructed from metal sheets, making them even hotter. Some people chose to leave their shanties and find shade under the trees, while those who were physically stronger fought over the prime spots, leaving the weaker individuals at a disadvantage. With the intense heat, no one felt like moving, and everyone kept to themselves. Those who had been displaced didn't resist much, because the more they resisted, the more they would exhaust themselves and risk heatstroke. Soon, the area under the trees became crowded, and some people set their sights on nearby shanties. "Big sister, your shanty is quite spacious. It could easily accommodate 2 or 3 people. Could we come over to find some shade?" "That's right. You're occupying such a good spot. Could you share it with others?" Jiang Ran looked at the crowd coldly. "Sorry, not interested." Seeing that Jiang Ran wasn't going to be cooperative, the crowd turned their attention to Yu Xiaoan beside her. However, when they saw Guansong standing next to her, they silently gave up on the idea. The Ji Qingcheng brothers were equally untouchable. Jiang Ran's group was not to be trifled with. The crowd redirected their attention to others who seemed friendlier, and they made all sorts of promises and sweet-talked their way in. 2 girls who were afraid of offending others agreed to let the crowd in. People swarmed in, pushing the shanty owners aside. These invaders acted so brazenly and unapologetically that they even shot triumphant glances at Jiang Ran's group. Rolling her eyes conspicuously, Jiang Ran sat at the entrance of her shanty and began cultivating. During this period of cultivation, she faintly sensed a barrier she couldn't break through. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't shatter this layer of obstruction. She had to work harder to cultivate and find an opportunity to break through. As evening approached and the temperature dropped, Jiang Ran woke up from her meditation. The city in the distance was bustling with activity, and the sound of people could be heard even from a distance. She stood up and stretched lazily, then looked at Yu Xiaoan and the others. "I'm thinking of going to the city. Anyone want to come with me?" "Sure." Yu Xiaoan smiled and nodded. With so many people flooding into the safe zone, there were bound to be job opportunities. If they waited until tomorrow, they'd probably only find undesirable positions. Ji Qingcheng also nodded. Ji Qinglan, on the other hand, was already carrying his backpack. "I'm ready. We can leave anytime." "Let's go then." With their backpacks filled with supplies, they headed toward the city. They passed through greenery and the outskirts of the city, and suddenly, the streets came alive. Many shops were open, and people were buying things from various stores. Bargaining over the price of an item seemed to take forever due to their tight budgets, but the pedestrians on the street all seemed to be in good spirits. At the very least, their clothes and hair were neat and tidy. Some people were even riding electric bicycles on the road. "Why did the electricity prices go up again? Are they trying to kill us?" "No, it's not just the electricity prices. Water prices have gone up too." "Isn't water directly pumped from the ground?" A staff member arrogantly replied, "If you don't like it, don't use it. Water doesn't need electricity to be pumped." If electricity prices go up, water prices naturally have to rise as well. All the electricity in the safe zone comes from solar panels outside. Can it really be this expensive? 1 point to exchange for 1 pound of food? You people are so heartless. The staff members spread their hands, the company has its rules. If you have a problem, you can complain to headquarters. If you're not going to recharge, move aside and don't hold up others. Humph, I'm not going to recharge. Several disgruntled individuals turned away on the spot. Others hesitated for a moment before approaching to buy water, electricity, and gas. Then they discovered that gas prices had gone up too, and quite a few people left immediately. Across the street, Jiang Ran's group witnessed this scene. Yu Zioan, as a housewife, was familiar with these things and couldn't help but comment, surviving in the safe zone is really not easy. If 1 point is equivalent to 1 pound of food, no matter how much you save, water, electricity, and gas would still cost dozens of pounds. Add in rent, and the monthly fixed expenses would exceed £100. Let's go, let's find jobs first. Although Jiang Ran had a significant amount of supplies in her dimensional space, she had no excuse to bring them out at the moment. She needed to find a job first and have a stable income before considering renting a place in the city. After inquiring at several shops, they found that the wages were terribly low, and the pre-apocalypse standards still applied. The lowest wages were around 30 points per month, and the highest was around 50 points. Moreover, the work hours were long, lasting for 10 to 12 hours, from 6 in the evening until 7 or even 8 in the morning. Sales positions offered higher commissions, making them appealing, but the job description hinted at something else. The boss explicitly indicated that they were looking for individuals willing to contribute. Seeing Ji Qinglan's appearance, the female boss nodded approvingly. If you agree to join us, I'll guarantee you a minimum of 100 points a month. If you work harder, earning 200 or 300 points won't be an issue. The older sisters all love fresh faces like yours. The female boss even reached out to grab Ji Qinglan's arm, but he swiftly evaded her grasp, leaving her visibly annoyed. Go away, who wants to be a duck? Those old men might like you, but why don't you go work as a prostitute instead? The female boss fumed. Hey, why are you cursing? I'd rather starve than sell myself. Ji Qinglan left in a huff, leaving the female boss irate. Hey, how dare you curse at me? Get lost, I'm not going to be a prostitute. Ji Qinglan walked away, leaving her seething. Not long after, Guan Song and his wife returned. Brother Song, Sister Zioan, how did it go on your end? Seeing them return, Ji Qinglan hurried over to ask. Both of them shook their heads dejectedly. Guan Song spoke, the wages are terrifyingly low. They offer just 35 points a month for some, and the higher paying ones range from 50 to 80 points. However, those jobs require working all night or involve a form of selling yourself. During the conversation, Ji Qingcheng returned as well, his expression less than favorable. Ji Qinglan approached him discreetly and whispered, Brother, did someone proposition you too? Ji Qingcheng didn't answer but gave Ji Qinglan an annoyed look. Ji Qinglan instantly understood and quipped, Not that. In this safe zone, is selling yourself the only way to make a living? Of course not. You can also take on tasks at the government hall. Jiang Ran's voice sounded, explaining that the survivors in this safe zone had exaggerated its conditions based on hearsay. But upon closer inspection, apart from having more abundant supplies, it wasn't much different from other post-apocalyptic bases. The group abandoned their job hunting plans and headed to the government hall to pick up tasks. The jobs they had encountered so far had excessively long hours, most of which were overnight shifts. These jobs would seriously sap their energy and vitality, so they were better off taking the risk outside. After all, they had accumulated a lot of experience on their journey here. With their teamwork, they shouldn't have any problems completing simple tasks. After inquiring several times, the group arrived at the entrance of the government hall. It was originally a commercial building outside the residential complex, but it had been requisitioned as the government hall to distribute and supervise tasks.